In my memories, it was a very attractive hall.
This is where I learned to have confidence to go out 8 nights, 6 nights a week and do what I do.
Well, we had what was called chapel there.
It was a really cozy place.
The year was 1927. Babe Ruth smashed his 60th home run of the season. Charles Lindbergh completed the first solo nonstop flight from New York to Paris. 11-year-old violinist Yehudi Menuhin made his debut in Paris, bringing hundreds of music lovers to their feet for a standing ovation. Helen Hayes opened on Broadway in Coquette, and Al Jolson starred in the first all-talking motion picture, The Jazz Singer. The Duke Ellington Orchestra opened at Harlem's renowned Cotton Club. In that same year, 1927, Thayer Academy celebrated its 50th anniversary with a decision to launch a building campaign that would allow for the construction of a new assembly hall. The number of students at the Academy increased substantially during the 1920s, and the school had outgrown the original auditorium located on the 3rd floor of the main building. Plans called for an assembly hall to be added at the rear of the main building, but design changes finally focused on the construction of a new building, named for the former trustee and Congressman Louis Frothingham and dedicated to the memory of the 146 Thayer students and alumni who served their country in World War I.
I remember the woodwork and the soft lights, and it was very nice. And we had assembly there at least 3 times a week. Mr. Southworth was big on that. And all the dances, they called them receptions, and they were pretty formal, and a little 3-piece band or something.
Frothingham Hall was dedicated on November the 10th, 1930. For the next 78 years, generations of Thayer students gathered within its walls for dances, proms, chapels, now called Monday meetings, music and drama performances, and in its basement, everyone's favorite lunch.
Well, we had what was called chapel there, which is sort of like the dissemination of all the memos, keep everybody up to date. And then the theater productions, which I would go to. The prom, those were in Frothingham too. And I went to 2 proms there.
Throughout the 1930s and 40s, Thayer students performed on the Frothingham stage in a variety of plays, bands, orchestras, and choral groups that came and went with student interest. However, by the late 1940s, the Academy's choral music program emerged as the centerpiece of Thayer's music program, a position it would continue to enjoy for the next 40 years. With the choral music program at its center, Thayer's arts program began to grow. By the late 1950s, Thayer students were taking art courses under the eaves of the Glover Building. And then in 1965, the new library building was dedicated. The lower level of this building provided light, bright space for Thayer's visual arts programs, which flourished there for the next 43 years. Course offerings grew to include pottery and sculpture, architecture, photography, and most recently, videography and graphic design. In time, the growth in the visual arts was matched by a stronger instrumental music program.
I later sang in the Glee Club at Harvard, and the background that I had because of the variety of music that we did, I thought was great. They might have been in another language. It was classical pieces. There would be some popular pieces, but they were serious pieces, maybe religious pieces. And it's those things that I was already used to when I went on to college.
In the fall of 1991, an instrumental music class was added to Thayer's curriculum. 1 student signed up for the first year. But thanks to the program's unique student-driven approach to music, which gives students tremendous ownership in their learning, it quickly flourished. Today, more than 100 students are enrolled in 7 different instrumental music groups, designed to both match and stretch their talents.
Definitely join one of the jazz combos because they're all at different levels. In the jazz combo, not everyone's like amazing at one thing. Like people are actually learning. So you don't have to be really great. You can learn in the jazz combo.
While the Frothingham stage had been the home for dramatic presentations since it opened, It wasn't until the late 1960s that the Academy began a tradition of staging an annual Broadway musical production.
I saw Fiddler on the Roof in 6th grade. So, you know, I saw from the very beginning of being at Thayer, I saw where I was going to have the opportunity to go and the opportunity to grow. And, you know, the stuff that was done in Frothingham, it's amazing how well that was done.
Amal and the Night Visitors was the first musical production performed in Frothingham, followed by Oliver, Camelot, Fiddler on the Roof, and many, many more. More recent productions have included Tommy, Cabaret, and the last musical performed on the Frothingham stage, Godspell. The opening of the Thayer Academy Center for Arts sets the stage both literally and figuratively for a thriving arts program to continue to grow.
I mean, it's really technologically advanced. It's going to sound great, it's going to feel great, it's really spacious, but you know, it still has a Frothingham vibe. You know, the way it's set up, and it might be bigger and more spacious, but it still feels really intimate. So they did a great job of preserving that while adding a lot of space.
The 37,000 square feet facility includes a new 540-seat theater, as well as teaching and practice spaces for instrumental music, choral music, and dance.
Seeing that building out there is like, it puts a smile on my face. It was made as a chapel and turned into a theater with no wing space, and there was no place for dance, and there was no place for choral stuff, really. And of course, it's absolutely the most important thing in the world for me to see my high school have such an unbelievable facility to support what I think is an unbelievable high school program in the arts. You know, when I was on tour this year, every time I went out there, I was like, I know where this came from, and it is right here. And now, tons more kids are going to say that the new beautiful building was the place that they gained that same confidence, and it's so exciting.
Construction of a new theater has allowed the old Frothingham Auditorium to be reincarnated as a home for painting and drawing, architecture, digital photography, and graphic design. While the relocation of these programs from their old home in the library building provides expanded space for pottery, sculpture, and videography. Today, more than 90% of their students take one or more arts courses in a program which encourages creativity and risk. A program which makes students aware of what they can do, without regard to the traditional constraints of what they cannot.
Didn't really like drawing, thought I was a horrible drawer. Came to Miss Gwynn's class and I got more confident in, oh, this actually kind of looks good. Wow, I can do that. I didn't know I could do that before. And guitar, never dreamed of playing guitar. Wow, maybe I can actually play guitar, sometime.
As the Academy moves into a new century, and our students face challenges not even imagined when Sylvanus Thayer first dreamed of his academy, Thayer's arts program will change and grow and adapt, preparing new generations of students to lead full and productive lives in a community that values them as individuals.